Welcome everybody to 7.8 on something and the place where you do the things.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Michigan takes on the battered husk of an Indiana team that was ranked 17th preseason. Their first preseason ranking since 1968. They are currently 2-6. So suffice it to say, things have not gone to plan for the Indiana Hoosiers. Yeah, Speaking of things not going to plan, here are our sponsors.
No, bad segue, terrible segue. That was one of the worst segues we've ever had, and that's saying something. But we are sponsored by Underground Printing. Underground Printing has 3 Road 2 locations in Ann Arbor. They offer thousands of University of Michigan athletic products. Check out ugpmichiganapparel.com. We also want to thank our associate sponsors, Peak Wealth Management, HomeSure Lending, Ann Arbor Elder Law, Michigan Law Grad, Human Element, the Phil Klein Insurance Group, Prentice 4M, SignalWire, which we are using right now, and introducing Team Fan Club, which allows you to support the players on Michigan's men's and women's basketball teams directly and advertise your business in the process. We're going to have Butch on later, and he can explain exactly what he's doing there.
All right, so Michigan takes on Indiana. Indiana is 2-6. Michigan is favored by 20 points in this game, and I think you can attribute a large part of that to the fact that Michael Penix, the star Indiana quarterback, came into this year and started off with a clear case of Devin Gardner disease, where he had just taken too many hits to be an effective quarterback, and then he got injured, and then his backup got injured, and now they've turned to a true freshman. So, Alex, what did you see in the one game the two true freshmen played?
Yeah, well, he is a very talented true freshman for Indiana standards. I think that's notable. Was a top 250 composite recruit, which is pretty good for Tom Allen's crew. It's just you generally don't want a true freshman starting at quarterback. And they've kind of decided that he needs to use his legs to be effective, that they don't really trust him to open the offense up. So pretty much any 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 10 was an empty set backfield with 4 or 5 wide, and then he would take the snap, take one step back, and then just try to find the hole and run for the first down. That was their goal with him. Otherwise, on 1st and 2nd down, short passing, that sort of thing, they did let him take a few shots, all of them to Ty Freifogel, who is still around for some reason. And, Hendershot's a good receiver underneath, but the accuracy was pretty spotty, and he made some bad decisions. He didn't have a pick in the game, but he had one ball that went directly into the lap of a Maryland DB, bounced up in the air and was caught by an Indiana player. He had another that was thrown into triple coverage that was batted down. Like he had, I don't know what PFF marked him up for, but I would have marked him up for 3 or 4 turnover-worthy plays. And otherwise, Pocket presence wasn't great. There was one clip I had where the sack comes in, definitely seems like he had locked in on a receiver, didn't really see it coming, and ran backwards like 10 yards before that, too. So a lot of rough stuff that I think will get ironed out as his career progresses. But right now is a pretty rudimentary quarterback.
Yeah, and they import Stephen Carr from USC. Carr has cracked 100 yards in 3 games, the most recent one against Maryland, and then FCS Idaho and Western Kentucky. I added up all the rest of his carries, and that was 84 carries for 227 yards. That is a cool 2.7 per.
Ooh.
And the Maryland game was one long run. I think it was a 60-some yarder where he made a nice move to get through some traffic. And then other than that, he was stuck in the mid threes against a very bad defense. So,
and I think Carr is a decent running back. I mean, watching his clips, I thought he was grinding out yards and getting yards after contact, making cutbacks. That's how grim the offensive line was in that game. And that was against maybe the worst Big Ten defense they've seen. Definitely the worst Big Ten defense they've seen.
So they have a lot of issues. And the fact that they don't really trust their passing game anymore has really compounded those.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the quarterback from Minnesota in 2017, that game we had, it was pouring rain, and then we played the game, and they had this true freshman quarterback who no one ever imagined.
Zach Anixtad, was that his name?
No, it wasn't. It was before Anixtad. It was this guy who never ended up playing again. But the second I saw McCauley, he reminded me exactly of that guy. It was just too skinny. Still looks like he's a basketball player, which he actually was. Which is that very Indiana to just kind of grab a guy off the basketball court and go, "Here, you be quarterback." But the same kind of thing, and they would just run rollouts for him all the time because you really couldn't ask him to read anything more complex than. Hey, Ty Fryfogel's going downfield. And he doesn't have the safety blanket that you would want for a young quarterback, which is a fast little guy. I guess DJ Matthews was supposed to be that guy for them this year, but he's been out all year. So they moved Javon Swinton inside to the slot position, but he's not none of these guys are that fast. Fryfogel is a deep threat, the kind that Indiana always has, and Hendershot is a Gentry kind of tight end, not a good blocker, but certainly can go up and get it. But the things that we've been afraid about from Indiana's offense in the past, they just don't have the weapons right now.
No, and the Indiana Twitter is not that impressed with Nick Sheridan as their offensive coordinator.
No, they're not.
Understating things, maybe.
I mean, they were mad before they lost Penix, but I mean, since then, there's not a whole lot you can do if you're going into your backup and your backup quarterback.
They were mad about the Penix stuff, and right now they just seem extremely resigned to whatever's happening. So this is a team that scored 15, 0, 6, and 7 points against Big Ten defenses not named Maryland. Is there any reason to expect a dead cat bounce? Any reason to expect that the Maryland game is going to resemble a game against Michigan, or are we looking more at something like the Northwestern game for Michigan from Michigan's point of view?
Yeah, I would think it's more sort of Northwestern-y. I don't see a lot here to be afraid of. I mean, I'm not sure how this won't be a massive mismatch at the line of scrimmage for Michigan, especially Caleb Jones, who's their right tackle, has been very bad this season. Whether you have Ojabo or Hutchinson there, that should be an area of strength. Matt Bedford at left guard is not great. I didn't love their center either. They've got Zach Carpenter, old friend, at right guard, maybe. Their other guard is injured. I'm not sure if he's coming back or not. But, this is not a line that got a ton of push against a Maryland defense that's really bad. So I just don't really see how they're going to be able to get much push against Michigan's guys. And then it's just, I guess, could Donovan McCulley rescue you? I mean, he's a talented quarterback. He could make some throws perhaps, but I also would bet on him making some real mistakes. And if they set up the game plan like they did against Maryland and they don't let him to take any shots, I'm not really sure how this team scores more than, 14 points, let's say.
Yeah, and this is You mentioned this is a situation where this is a very veteran Indiana team with a couple of key exceptions, one of them being McCulley. So this could be maybe the beginning of the end for Tom Allen. I mean, if they disappoint so wildly this
Don't we
year,
say that all the time with Tom Allen? Like, isn't this like he's not even that old? Like, and it's like our third time now being like, okay, now it's over for Tom. No, after what he built last year, he's got lots of. He played an injured quarterback this year. The defense is not that bad. We'll get into that, but like, no. I think it's probably Nick Sheridan's last year there.
Yeah, it's probably Sheridan's. I mean, the question will be for them moving forward. I mean, we'll talk about the defense. That's the really veteran unit. You know, this group, they've got some older players. I mean, definitely their concern next year will be replacing Freifogel and Hendershot if those guys take off, Stephen Carr as well. But they'll have some returning talent on the offensive line. You just have to hope that they get a lot better. And, you know, McCulley moving forward, I think the concern for the program long term is that, you know, does McCulley get Devin Gardner, right? Like if they don't have the weapons around him. I mean, next year definitely seems like a rebuilding season. So for Tom Allen, I think it comes down to how much slack, you know, does the fan base cut him, right? How much do they absolve him from what happened this season?
Yeah, we should point out that Indiana's already given up something like 22 or 24 sacks, and that's with one game of McCulley. And McCulley looks like a kind of guy who's going to take a lot of sacks early in his career because he just doesn't know what's going on. He's got all this high school stuff still in his head. So if he tries to run away from Ojabo and Hutchinson, that's not going to end well. So this could be sort of a free-for-all if Michigan is able to get them in passing downs. And maybe the sack strips will count this week. Anyway, let's take a break and talk about the defense.
Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting U of M apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Ufer, and more. UGP also specializes in custom printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need one shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing in one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com. It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, trying to collect sizes and payments for a family reunion, or, you know, ordering a whole bunch of shirts with your Kickstarter, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with their easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, wasting time trying to sort out the order. They'll set it up, you can just sit back and relax. They'll even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit them at any of their convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough made possible by developments in communications.
Arthur C. Clarke's 1964 vision is now reality with SignalWire, a cloud platform that enables developers to build the applications that will reshape the future of communications.
These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other wherever we may be.
You can add cutting-edge, real-time video and audio to any product, website, or application with APIs and SDKs for developers of all skill sets. SignalWire is optimized for high quality and low latency communication functionality for video, voice, and text messaging capabilities.
Almost any skill could be made independent of distance. Men will no longer commute. They will communicate.
See for yourself at signalwire.com. Use code 2021 and receive $25 in developer credit. Go to signalwire.com.
SignalWire Communications OGs, original geeks of programmable communication.
Hey, it's Nick Hopwood, founder and president at Peak Wealth Management. We have a lot in common. We both went to Michigan, we're both huge fans, but I'm concerned about how much time you're spending on Michigan football recruiting. This could be time spent with me poring over your cash flow and Roth conversion strategy. How are these Roth conversions going to get done with you spending all your time and energy on MGoBlog looking at the next 5-star recruits? Hey, all kidding aside, if you're addicted to MGoBlog and you want to outsource some of your financial planning to an expert, consider us, peakwm.com/MGoBlog. At Peak, we work with people applicable in a variety of situations. Some of our clients are young professionals looking to optimize their savings and investments. For young people, time is the key. Some of our clients are super affluent trying to figure out when they can retire. Some are high net worth retirees looking for a second opinion on how their money's working for them. Get your second opinion at peakwm.com/mgoblog.
Peak Wealth Management.
Retire with confidence.
In southeastern Michigan, the yearly cost for a nursing home averages
approximately $100,000.
It doesn't have to, though. Reed McCarthy founded Ann Arbor Elder Law after handling a tricky situation for his own family. Years of experience later, his boutique firm works with clients across southeast Michigan, dealing with Medicaid planning, long-term care, and tax, disability, and family law, not to mention family dynamics. If you have a family member who may need that level of care, or if you're ready to start your own estate plan, Reed can give you a plan for the future. Visit AnnArborElderLaw.com or call 734-945-9693. That's 734-945-9693.
Holding his hand in the bed that you shared.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 7.8. We are now discussing the Indiana defense, which has two main problems. One is they only have one guy who gets any pressure, and that's a linebacker. Two, their secondary is currently in a very higgledy-piggledy state because of injuries. So Tywan Mullen is practicing, but barely played against Maryland. Their third-string cornerback, their third option at cornerback, who was, I think, their fourth option at cornerback before they had an ACL tear, also did not play against Maryland, and so they gave up a ton of yards to Talia Tagovailoa. And they have a couple of issues at safety as well. There's a guy who's extremely doubtful, and they've just been rotating guys back there all season. And when you combine that with the fact that they have, I think, a total of 10 sacks on the year, and they faced an awful lot of passing attempts, that is not a recipe for success. But except for the last two games, they've actually held opponents down to like slightly over 5 yards an attempt, except for Western Kentucky for whatever reason. So there's some chance that if they get their guys back, they're able to just kind of contain Michigan. They could force Michigan to try to have some long marches down the field, and then it's field goal time for this offense.
Yeah, one quick note there. Western Kentucky has, I believe, the number one passing offense in America by yards per game. When you mentioned the yards per attempt there, they've got a crazy, crazy good passing offense. So that would be the explanation. But
this is weird for me, by the way, because normally Brian is our fount of Western Kentucky knowledge around here.
Well, I saw that they had like 60 attempts against Michigan State. So of course they have the top passing offense in the country. That's all they do.
Yeah. But no, Indiana, you look at their defense, and it's a little interesting because unlike a lot of defenses we've looked at this season, there isn't like a major gaping hole that this is the thing you have to attack. It's just like they have some guys at every level. They just don't have a lot of shutdown performances. And so you look at their season, they've given up between 20 and 38 points in 7 of the 8 games they've played. And they just are good at not getting run off the field, but they also don't really shut anyone totally down. I mean, probably their best performance was against MSU in Bloomington. They were only responsible for 13. There was a pick 6 in there, so perhaps subtract that from the pool. They did get run off the field by Ohio State, but that kind of happens to everybody. So otherwise, they've done a good job to keep teams in the ballpark because they have some players. Micah McFadden at the second level, their middle linebacker, is a phenomenal player. All-American last season, has been great this year. A great blitzer. He's the guy that generates a ton of pressure for them and has got some speed to run sideline to sideline too and run defense. Obviously, their corners, if healthy, were arguably the best tandem in the conference in Jalen Williams and Tywan Mullen. Those guys have not been healthy, so that hasn't really materialized. But if they could find that special juice, then perhaps they could put on the pressure on somebody. And Ryder Anderson, transfer at defensive end, that's the hand in the dirt defensive end from Ole Miss. He's a pretty good player. I mean, Weston Kramer, their defensive tackle transfer from NIU, is fine. Like, they have some guys, they have some weak spots too, but nothing really obvious screaming your name to attack, you're just probably going to be able to move the ball to some extent on them. And then you just kind of go from there and have to finish drives.
Yeah, Kramer's a guy we actually recruited, too. We were trying to get a hold of that dude.
Well, we were trying to get a hold of any warm body. But one thing that kind of leapt out is there's really no rhyme or reason to what their run defense puts out.
No.
So they held Walker down. That was one of the 2 games where he didn't perform. The other one was against Nebraska. And then they've had a couple other good performances, and then they got torched by Penn State. They got torched by Ohio State, which I guess isn't a huge surprise. And they got torched or they had a fairly bad performance against a team that is currently escaping my mind. Cincinnati. So like they've had some performances where they really hold the opposing rushing offense down, and they have some issues, and that doesn't necessarily seem related to talent, because Penn State is not a good rushing offense this year.
No.
And Michigan State is. So there's just there's obviously a lot of variability in football. I mean, you don't get a whole lot of at-bats, but it just didn't really make sense to me trying to piece together the numbers.
One thing people may not want to hear about the Michigan State-Indiana game is that Michigan State got called for a bunch of holding early in the game, and that kind of maybe changed the way that they play. I don't want to get too much into our game with them, but like that was a factor in that game. I thought that like Michigan State, the way they play is they stick their arms outside all the time and try to grab as much as possible. So maybe it got a little tentative after that, and that kind of changed the way that they play. But that was my best explanation when I watched them play against State, was that they got flagged.
Yeah. Also, I'll point out DeMarcus Elliott at defensive tackle and Alfred Bryant, their stand-up end. Those are kind of weaker spots on the line. So those are guys you might want to try and double and see if you can't just eject them from the play and clear a big hole. But McFadden's pretty good at finding the holes, not always, but he's a good run defender. Cam Jones is okay.
I'm so surprised you're saying that. I mean, I understand that like the guy's a 4th-year player now, but I did faux film for years, right? And we play these guys every year. And Cam Jones, like I was just like, when are you going to get rid of this guy? And it seemed like they couldn't get rid of him fast enough. They would throw like freshmen in there. Like I could never keep track of how many other weak side linebackers they try, and then just Cam Jones would be right back there again. I've got like clips of him from 3 years in a row where like he just did something mind-boggling in the middle of the game, and then you're like, yeah, he's fine.
And that'll happen.
Players do improve, but like this guy, I don't want to knock players I don't want to knock him like crazy, but he had he stuck in my memory. I was kind of surprised that that there wasn't anything on his tape that didn't. He's exciting. He's an exciting linebacker. Let's put it that way. And then McFadden can kind of go and do whatever McFadden's job, it seems to be to make him right all the time. So if there's play action, I noticed Jones is right after that immediately. And then McFadden's job is to kind of, if they're actually, he's always kind of the only one left in the hole. They don't like to leave 2 linebackers back. And Tom Allen, he's, historically been really good about blitzes. He's got all sorts of crazy things. He'll blitz cornerbacks all the time. Maybe not having the same cornerbacks available has changed that.
They're not as blitzy this year as they were last year, but they do vary things because they have that stand-up end. So some plays, they'll drop that player into coverage, and then they'll rush McFadden from the second level to get their 4 rushers in. And they do send more than that on some occasions, but they weren't crazy blitzy in the game I watched. But yeah, they also have a hybrid space player, which they call a Husky. Marcelino McCrary Ball is the nominal starter, but they have Bryant Fitzgerald rotating in. That player is generally a DB more than a linebacker on this defense.
Yeah, again, somebody that we should all be very familiar with, because McCrary Ball, before his name was even hyphenated, was starting as a true freshman in 2016. So
yes, he started against Jake Butt.
Yeah. So, I mean, this guy, we're quite familiar with him, except for every other year he's been out for injury. So he's a 6th year now, and might still be able to come back next year for a 7th, because I think he's got 2 medical red shirts. And then the other one's Brian Fitzgerald, who was their former safety, who was kind of slow, but I think that they work that out by moving him down to the Husky position. Do we lose Alex or just Alex's video?
I don't know. Alex is going to say something. Apparently, we lost Alex. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think we've basically completed talking about Indiana. Michigan is favored by 20. Does that surprise you in any way?
No. I thought that Indiana's fallen apart. I think that their defense is still can be pretty decent. I think that they'll get their cornerbacks back, and Michigan maybe knows they don't have to try that hard, so we'll see a whole bunch more of that, fake zone read stuff, and that might annoy us. And that will be it'll be another one Northwestern or Wisconsin game where their offense can't move the ball, so we're just chewing clock down with the run game.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and find out if Seth survived the UFR process after the Michigan State game.
No.
Peak Wealth, we believe we can help you retire with confidence. It's Nick Hopwood, certified financial planner from
Peak Wealth Management
in Plymouth. I graduated from Michigan in 2001 with an econ degree and founded Peak Wealth Management in 2014. And now we have over $240 million of assets under management. As a freshman in 97, winning the national championship in football and hockey didn't get any better than that. Both my wife and I lived in Bursley that year, and it's crazy because we never actually met while living in the same dorm. Probably because she had a car and I had to ride the bus. But we named our dog Bursley anyway, and he's on the payroll here at Peak Wealth Management. At Peak, we're fee-based. We're your fiduciary, which means everything we recommend is always in your best interest. We partner with leading institutional money managers, focus on low fees, to make sure every client has a financial plan covering retirement, college, tax, estate, insurance, and cash flow. Simply put, we are
Peak Wealth Management,
your comprehensive financial coach. Book your second opinion at peakwm.com/mgoblog.
Peak Wealth Management.
Retire with confidence.
Is your online store sluggish, outdated, underperforming? You may be suffering from chronic crappy website disorder. 1 in 3 online stores built by your brother's friend's nephew currently suffers from chronic crappy website. But now, there's hope. Introducing Human Element. Huel has helped hundreds suffering from CCW to turn their online stores around, creating fast, secure, and engaging online experiences that turn visitors into customers and put products back at the top of their search engine game.
Before Huel, I had abandoned carts, browser errors, and poorly animated GIFs. Now, with Huel, I can focus on what I'm actually good at, running my business.
Jeffrey, would you be a dear and pull the Ferrari around?
Side effects may include increased traffic, customer conversions, better ROI, compliments, elation, and early retirement. Why live with the disappointment of chronic crappy website disorder? Speak to your Human Element consultant today to see if Huel is right for you.
During these challenging times, it is important to have a Michigan man in your corner. If you or someone in your life has questions, concerns, or just want to discuss your legal rights, give attorney Jonathan Paul a call at 248-924-9458 or visit his website, michiganlawgrad.com. John asks you all to be safe. We're going to get through this together, and as always, go blue.
This is Matt Demrest, the owner of Homeshore Lending. We're a local mortgage company here to help you purchase with confidence and refinance with ease. People don't get mortgages very often, so it can be confusing. We'll break down every single line item so that it all makes sense. And at the end of the day, if we're not giving you the best deal, we'll tell you to go with the other company. We're here to offer our simple mortgage guidance.
This is Seth Fisher from MGoBlog. Over the years, we've sent dozens of readers to use Homeshore Lending, and every review that's come back has been raving. I myself used them to refinance after doing our original loan through our bank. I was amazed how much smoother the process was for our complicated loan. Brian used them, you should use them too.
Finding out whether it makes sense or not to refinance or getting pre-approved to buy a new home is easy. Head over to homeshorelending.com, that's HOMESURE, lending.com/MGoBlog to find out more. Or call us at 734-531-9950. That's 734-531-9950. I've got 2 of my favorite people here with me, kind of an annual tradition, Cooper and Colby. Cooper, how old are you?
11.
Colby, how about you?
9.
Can I get a go blue?
Go blue!
NMLS number 1161358, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 7.8. Now we turn to the blow by blow,
Mhm.
play by play.
Mhm.
Refereeing decision uncommented upon refereeing decision uncommented upon the Michigan State game.
Cade. Let's talk about Cade. Can we talk about
let's
Cade?
talk about Cade. Yeah, let's do that.
Because I can scroll to that part first. 9 dead-on throws, 2 of them pluses. After I think his record was 6 against Wisconsin, and the best one after that in his career was 3 against Rutgers last year. So
for those of you who are not intimately familiar with our charting, a plus means he's getting pressure while he's throwing the ball. So they're like super special, extra good throws.
Yeah, and there were quite a few of those, and I thought about maybe giving him a couple more because the pressure was coming, and he just, got rid of it too fast. There were several plays that he made, which I just have never seen him make before, where he really kind of took advantage of crossing routes. Michigan State was kind of bringing down their safeties and rolling down to 1 high, and they basically had that extra safety, that strong safety, playing low as like a linebacker. So they just ran guys behind that level. And Ian Boyd wrote an article about this for us too. But those are really hard windows to hit. And I mean, I understand why Michigan State's plan in this game was like, okay, let's take that away from him, and if he wants to hit us in the mid-level, good luck, because we've never seen him make those throws. And he made one of those throws to Anthony. He made one of those throws on the touchdown to Sainristil, and he made a couple of them to Eric All on 3rd and long, and then he played off of that because they overplayed that spot. They dumped a couple of guys back into that area, which opened up Sainristil on that long 3rd and 8 near the end of the game, where he got that huge long long pass. And I just noticed these were all passing downs or clock downs, right? Michigan had 2 2-minute drills in this game, 3 actually, count the last drive, and that's where the majority of his throws came from. So, I mean, Cade was not just slinging it when they were worried about the running game. He was slinging it against a defense set to pass against 2 very good pass rushers. Beasley was back in this game. He was getting pressure sometimes, mostly because Carson Barnhart was a little bit iffy, and I mean, it's hard not to get really excited about that performance because we've just never seen that from him before. And if he can recapture a little bit of that, I don't want to talk about the ceiling in this team. Maybe they win the bowl game. How about that?
And then, of course, the other breakout performance is Andrew Anthony.
Yep. I think I managed to compare him to every single number 1 in Michigan history. So I got a Tyrone Butterfield because remember Butterfield kind of saved the 95 game by getting out of bounds at one time. Actually, he dropped the pass on purpose, but it still counts. I got a Braylon Edwards in there. I got a David Terrell, and then I think we all remember the Anthony Carter play at the beginning where Michigan's backed up, and I mean that's just pure speed. So he got really, really, really high on that one pass that he didn't bring in. He got to the pass and just barely missed putting his foot down. But if you look how high he jumped on that, it's just wow. I had in the sleeper of the year in this class. I was like, this guy this guy should at least be a 4-star. But I did not expect him to be like this, and he kind of pays off some of that talk they had in the offseason where they're like, Xavier Worthy who? This guy is going to be fine.
Xavier Worthy who is not a correct take.
No, I know. Oh, we know. Although Big 12, it's a little different, but I mean, still, that it was. I thought, and looking at the tape on it too, just confirmed it that I wonder why this guy wasn't playing before.
Well, freshman wide receiver, it's often tough for them to break in. Running back Detente has paused.
Well, I mean, Corum had a bad game. There's really nothing around.
Paused.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to extrapolate too much out of one bad game because it was a bad game for Corum, and a Corum bad game still ends up, I think, almost even in charting. And then Haskins was, Haskins, and did the Haskins things, including hurdling a fool. So we're up to 4 on the fool's hurdled count now for the season, or for his career, sorry.
Defensively, Michigan mostly bottled up Walker, except when they really, really didn't. And what happened? What was like the main culprit for the issues that Michigan had? Other than tempo, we all know about.
Yeah, we know the tempo stuff. So Michigan was using 5 and sometimes even 6 defensive linemen. They were going a lot, and 1 linebacker. And Michigan State really figured out how to hit that. There was one play that ended up being a conversation, which I went back and changed the scoring a couple times because I can't figure out how Michigan was supposed to defend it from their 5-1 alignment. Because they've just pulled a tackle around the guard and used the tackle to double team the nose tackle. And, there's a possibility that Ross is supposed to get over there, but I don't know how Ross is supposed to see a pull on the other side of the line and get around a double team like that. So yeah, that's what Michigan's plan, I think, was kind of a high-risk strategy, which was don't give him opportunities to bounce outside just by having so many linemen on the line that just runs out of gaps, because that's what Walker likes to do, right? He likes to bounce on you. And so they thought they were just gonna knock up every single every lane, and Michigan State with those little tackle folds, and then I don't know, one time they got us on tempo with stretch, but that was really it. There was a lot of runs where they got nothing, and then there were 2 runs that they got touchdowns on those things. And then they had a few long passes and had some things prepared for Michigan because they're Michigan State, right?
Yeah, and so the stretch play you refer is the 60-yarder, right?
Yeah, and that is just, we identified it in the middle of right away, right? Jenkins, the freshman tackler, or redshirt freshman tackler, we were kind of expecting to be ready last year. Did the thing that Mohurst next year. We're expecting him to be, next year was the earliest we expected him to really be ready to play. And everything we've been getting this year is really nice. But one of the things that's really hard for freshman tackles to do is not try to go and make a play on stretch zone, because you have to get on the side, you have to get on the hip of your lineman, you have to stay in your gap. And if you try to go in the backfield and be a hero, you better make that play, because if you don't, there's nobody for that gap, and there's a lot of air. There's a lot of space that the running back can get through. There was another hold, so that one probably should have been like a 10 or 12-yard mistake, not a 60-yard mistake, because Ross got grabbed back again when he was trying to flow to that. And that was kind of a problem too, that Michigan really couldn't get anybody. There was no secondary help. There was no flow. There was no people catching up to the play, because everyone else was getting grappled. And as soon as you got through the line, A, we only have 1 linebacker, and B, there's only 1 safety deep that can help. And a couple times the safeties ran themselves out. Hawkins did it twice, I think. Moten had one where he just took a bad angle. And, that's what Michigan State does to you. Like, that was, I almost felt like it played into their hands.
It kind of feels like you're putting 5 and 6 defensive linemen in to get these one-on-one matchups, and that's only going to work if you really win those matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like that was not a good gamble to make, especially in a game where apparently they're not really calling a lot of holding. So if you got 3 or 4 defensive linemen and they're taking on doubles, and then you're just latching on to a guy trying to release to the second level, it just kind of feels like a strategy that backfired. I don't know if that.
Yeah. No, I think that Michigan's plan was, look, if they bottle him up, and you saw it work a whole bunch. I just think they needed it to work 2 or 3 more, or literally 1 more time, right? But their strategy was gamble that they could get enough tackles for loss or stuffs for no yards and put them in passing downs where you can't really use Walker anymore. And then you have Hutchinson on one side and Ojabo on the other side, and their tackles are not very good in pass protection. So if they could get Michigan State in passing downs, they could kick them off the field. And usually they were correct, except for they kept on making a couple mistakes here and there. Morris jumped off sides once. They got themselves in those passing downs, and then sometimes they would kind of give them up again. And again, you only needed 1 more play. one more thing to go right, and they had the game.
Is there anything else that you need to get off your chest that is not about the officiating?
Junior Colson he ended up being a +7, -1. I didn't really get to talk about him much, but a few of those good sticks were him. And the second linebackers didn't get a whole lot of opportunities in this game because they were switching off, and Michigan was running a lot of one linebacker sets. But when they had two linebacker sets, it worked, and a lot of the times it worked because Colson can fly to the ball before one of their guys can. It's really effective. Like, the way that McDonald's building this defense is really effective. He's got different tackles with different skills. I thought Jeter was a good fit for this game. We talked about the holding, but like, if that's their strategy, they're not getting low on Jeter. And Jeter's problem has always been guys who can, out leverage him. So if they're going high on him, then he's got those long arms, he's got that strength, and he was really effective at holding up to doubles. It ended up fairly positive in this game. And then when you have those tackles holding up to doubles like that, your linebackers can flow. And Colson can get through a lane so quickly, and Ross can get through a lane so quickly that it's a really effective defense. I mean, you can see it building, but you have to remember that they are in year one. And I think we got a little ahead of ourselves and got a little excited that it was working so well against Northwesterns and Wisconsins and whatnot. It's still a very year one defense, but I mean, the pieces are coming together in a way that might actually be really good and might be really tough to run against in the future.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break and come back and talk about, what was that, Seth?
Basketball. We got Butch. We got we're going to talk about NIL and basketball and a lot of different things that Butch knows that we don't know about.
TeamFanClub.com asks you to become a team sponsor for your university by financially supporting a men's or women's team at the University of Michigan. Under name, image, and likeness, college athletes can now earn money. Name, image, and likeness have athletes chasing money, losing valuable study time for classes, practices, and games. On TeamFanClub.com, sponsors can make it easier for your favorite team and coach with a sponsorship. As a sponsor, you can pay a one-time payment or monthly payment starting at $20. A monthly payment by you of $20 or more will help your school's athletes tremendously. All players share equally, not just the starters. Team Fan Club provides fairness for all athletes who practice and train every day. TeamFanClub.com provides stability for players to stay at your school and not go into the transfer portal. This product makes so much sense. So, go to TeamFanClub.com and sponsor your team today.
It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom-printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle, whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, or trying to collect sizes and payment for a family reunion. UGP is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with our easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing down people to pay, or wasting time trying to sort out the order. We'll set it up and you can just sit back and relax. We can even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit us at any of our convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
If you want to see where our post-game podcast happens, or if you need a spot to land in Ann Arbor, check out 4M, Prentice Partners' beautiful brand new flagship property at 830 Henry Street in Lower Burns Park and across the bridge from the Big House. Their 11 spacious 6-bedroom, 6-bath suites feature state-of-the-art digital capabilities and are laid out for comfortable, efficient collaboration. You can also rent a 4M unit for shorter stays, say if you want to come to town for a football weekend. I want to add myself that they're also taking over Lucky's. We're really excited about their plans for that space. So if you're by the stadium, swing by 830 Henry or visit Prentice4M.com.
Hey, so I have like insurance and stuff, but I don't really like know what's going on with it.
Yeah, your coverage probably sucks, and you're paying way too much for it. And I know this because I had a guy, his name's Phil Klein. He's actually a Michigan alum and wrestled for Michigan. He looked at my insurance and he was like, yeah, your coverage sucks and you're paying a lot more than you need to for it.
I also I hesitate to even mention this, but I do have my insurance from a company that advertises during college football games. Well, and I wish that was not the case.
Well, why don't you just get it from a cool guy who actually reads MGoBlog?
Well, how would I do that? They have a website?
They have one of those too. It's philkleininsurance.com. Can you remember the name Phil Klein?
Sure.
Can you remember insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Use those two together, and you will save money on your insurance, and you will actually get better coverage on your home and your auto, and they do life too.
All right. So you're telling me if I Google Phil Klein Insurance, this website will come up?
Yes.
Wonders never cease.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 7.8. Are we being joined by a special guest, Seth, or is that pending?
Yeah, Butch Carter's having a little trouble with his computer right now. A lot of that going around. Yeah, we lost Alex that way too. We could. Do you want to talk hockey?
No. We'll talk hockey. We have an exhibition tonight against Wayne State.
Yes.
If you want to pay $6, you can watch it, and it'll probably be a more fun experience than watching any game on Fox.
I'm running out of here, and I'm going to that. So you can listen to me yelling.
Questions that are the first stages of them being answered will start happening tonight, and that's like, okay, how does Devontae Jones translate? We're not going to know that against a D2 team. We will get an insight into what he's going to play like at Michigan, because last year, Mike Smith comes in and everybody's like, this guy's got 35% usage and awesome hair. Okay, the hair is going to translate, but how's his role going to look like on this team? And it turned out that Smith was able to dial down what he was doing pretty easily. He still had some issues with turnovers just because he was suddenly going up against guys who were much bigger and more athletic. Jones, I think, might have an easier transition because he went to the NBA PA camp, I believe, or like some G League thing that was like, and this is a bunch of guys who were all fringe NBA draft prospects. Hunter Dickinson was there, Kofi Coburn was there. Like there were a lot of high end college players there. And Jonathan Gavoni, who's Draft Express, works for ESPN, came out of that saying that he was the best defender there.
Period. Yeah, which that was always kind of Mike Smith's thing, is that he was a little small. Certainly a willing defender, but
he was more than a little small.
Right.
And his progress as a defender over the course of the year was immense.
Yeah.
And Eric Shapiro on Twitter posted sort of a kind of a lowlights compilation of what Devontae Jones was doing at Coastal Carolina. So he had one of the top steal rates in the country last year.
Yes.
By doing a bunch of stuff that's probably not going to fly. Juwan Howard's team.
Well, yeah, Michigan's got so many arms that, like, why would you even want to try to steal the ball? Just let them shoot it, right?
That's what the style of defense that they played last year was. It was just like we force a ton of 2-point shots. We do everything well except force turnovers. We just make people shoot over us, and then we go rebound the ball. So that's going to be an adjustment for him that I think is going to be interesting to see, and you're going to be able to see that tonight because his aggressiveness about going after guys when it might not be the best idea, I think is something that you're going to be able to start checking in and find out tonight. That's something I'm going to watch for.
All right.
I think we have been joined.
We have. Butch, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
It is a pleasure. I know we followed your career, and I wasn't alive when you were playing for Indiana, but
and I'm glad I still am.
I remember you coaching the Raptors with Vince Carter, and you drafted Tracy McGrady too, didn't you?
We drafted Tracy McGrady the year before Vince. Yes.
Yeah. This is Butch Carter, everybody. We were just talking about Michigan because the basketball season starts. The exhibition starts tonight, and I'm going to be jetting out of here as soon as this is over. And, you're welcome to share any Michigan thoughts, but I first wanted to talk to you about what you're doing now. We ran the ad a little bit ago, so people just kind of heard it, but I thought you should explain how you're, working with students, how you're working with NIL and using, basically using the fans to be able to support the teams and give, the teams an option to, or you can explain it. You go ahead.
Well, I mean, basically, I was very fortunate that I was able to listen in on Lead One represents the top 130 schools, and I was able to listen in to their Zoom calls. And in the process of that, I felt that there was a big disconnect between the athletic directors who take orders from the president and their board and what the kids really need. Me as being the oldest of 7 kids, grew up in a housing project. Basically decided to go to Indiana because I wanted to graduate from their school of business, and they'd graduated 5 players a year before, so there was playing time. I wanted to put together a concept. It's not a matter of what's right. I think a lot of people move forward in NIL because they said, well, we can be important, we can be agents, but no one understood that you can't give an 18 or 19-year-old an opportunity to make a lot of money and not give them a banker or a lawyer. And basically, when they legalized NIL, that's what they did. They turned these kids loose, but they didn't give a banker or a lawyer. And so at the highest level, everyone's very familiar that 2% of the athletes become professional. So that meant 98% of the other 450,000 athletes were going to fail. And, it's a passion for me because I lived in an era where my mother could not send me a dime when I was in school. I worked construction. I worked the blacktop crew at Rogers Construction in Bloomington, and it was very tough. Everyone thinks that the athlete is fortunate. Some are fortunate if they live like my kids live. They're privileged kids that don't have to go through the sacrifices that I went through. So basically, what I put together was, how can I make this thing acceptable for everyone? And I basically said, if you're going to raise money under NIL, you should do it for the team, not for individuals. The individuals, the high-end individuals, can go do their own individual deals. So I put together a Team Fan Club, and Team Fan Club, season ticket holders, alumni, boosters, as long as they're acting in good faith and you're not doing anything around pay to play. What I do is aggregate the athletes' social media, and aggregating the social media, they have a lot more power. They also have a certain media reach. We partnered with a company in Europe to study and evaluate that media reach, which shows what their value is. We had them do a couple NCAA games. The men's game with the 2 teams weren't blue bloods, but the media value was $2.8 million on the, I think there were 14 guys that actually played in the game. And then the women's side, we did UConn and Baylor, and that valuation was at $1.1 million of their media reach. So they have value that's far greater. I basically believe that the first movers came in and said, we're going to help you build your brand. Well, helping you build your brand, as we all know, doesn't help you pay the mortgage when you're 40 years old, or help you pay for your kids to go to school. So I basically felt it was the wrong direction. It's misguided direction to put those kids in that space, because they're not going to be able to do brand building when they need to pay the mortgage. They have to go to work every day, and it's very short term. This money allows them to do what they naturally do, which is they're on social media. They're going to aggregate the team social media. The money comes in, and when the money comes in, it goes into each individual player's account in Stripe, $1 billion company, and that money gets allocated to them. We pay it out over 10 months. We don't give them a lump sum. We force them to learn how to manage their money. And it's very powerful, done correctly. In my life, I've seen professional athletes where the agent aggregated the players' money together, and stuff started going sideways. So Stripe has an enterprise version that allows each individual player to have their own account. Right now, I think I've got 95 teams registered in Team Fan Club. But more importantly, what I did and why it took me so long to come to market was that I registered every Division I team. I think the only 2 teams we didn't register were one team in Vancouver, one team in Puerto Rico. So we got every team on every NCAA at every NCAA school in the database. So no one gets left out. It is meant to bring value in a very holistic way, and that's what I built. We don't, in my opinion, I don't want them as a coach distracted, missing practice. Right now, we've got a bunch of kids chasing NIL under auspice of, we can make money. If you don't have a banker and you don't have a lawyer to make sure that you're protected on those aggressive clauses, punitive damages, liquidated damages, then you don't have a transaction.
Yeah, one of the things I thought was so interesting about what you're doing is that I'm sorry, we're losing the audio a little bit here, but you make it so that people who get the money is coming from organizations that are advertising, and they're going to get some advertising value back out of it from the players, but really the money is going to be, you want to get your money, you get your company mentioned, on MGoBlogs podcast, it's for example, and then the money is going to the team that you select. And so if you want to support Michigan's women's basketball team and the men's basketball team, you're going to be paying out directly to those players. Those players will have accounts that will give them some regular funding. And that's what people have been asking for. People have been asking me all the time on our message board, can't you just have some way where we can all pay in? They're joking with a Kickstarter or something, right? Can't we just all throw, we want to pay in to have a pool that gets distributed fairly, that's not going to damage the program or damage the or create other situations for the players that we don't even think about. We want to get money to our players because we like the fact that they play for us. And I mean that's what we always wanted to do. So I love that this just gives you an opportunity. It makes it very easy. You get something back out of it. But it's really just about supporting the teams. And I love that you came to me saying that you wanted to start it with Michigan women's and men's basketball teams because first of all we like our basketball teams here a lot, and it's something that people have been specifically asking for.
Well, I mean, it's actually not only we do men and women's basketball. I think I loaded women's volleyball. I loaded the fall sports and also men and women's soccer. So they have choices. The goal is to have a seamless system for transactions that the kids are safe and the sponsors are safe. They can do a one-time payment. They can do monthly payments. They can create their own value. So, the idea was that how do you create an environment that's holistic for everyone? This is good for Michigan coaches. This is good for Michigan athletes. And it puts them in a space. Also, if for whatever reason they earn more than $12,200, we automatically take the taxes out and pay the taxes forward and force them into the real economic system that we know we've got to have our taxes done every year, right? But what people don't realize is that most student athletes are in college on their parents' tax return. That's how the kids qualify for the most financial aid.
All right, so I think we covered that. I can't let you off of this segment without talking a little basketball. If you're willing, you have you followed the Michigan team this year? Are you do you have a pick for national champion other than Gonzaga?
Well, I think Michigan for all schools, right? Let's go back to last year. Mr. Howard, I call him young Mr. Howard. He had a Final Four team if he doesn't have one of his starters injured. He had the Final Four team, and he was unlucky. But I go back to in 1975, Bob Knight, Scott May would have been Player of the Year, but he broke his arm, and Kentucky beat him in the regional. So I expect that team to come back a little angry about what they didn't get last year. Now, playing in the Big Ten, East and West is not easy. When I played in 76 through 80, Assembly Hall was the only great arena in the whole country. Now everyone's built a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Chrysler has been remodeled immensely. Juwan's style I'm familiar with. I played for Pat Riley when I was a rookie with the Lakers. Another Michigan grad, Alan Hardy. Alan and I were roommates. I actually named my oldest son Brandon Allen Carter after Alan Hardy. I expect Michigan to be very good, barring injury, because I know Juwan's style is to push for excellence amongst all his players. It will take them some time to figure out with the talent that they've lost, but I expect them to be very good. I expect them to be very good at home. I think, you should be excited about going to the exhibition game. I know they had a scrimmage, I believe, over at DePaul, someone told me. But they should be very good. He has some very good coaches. You got a coach to the north of you that's very good. The one in West Lafayette is very good. The guy in Wisconsin is very good. I thought the key last year was the game they won at Wisconsin. It was a must-win game, and they played outstanding and got that game. So they're used to playing tough games. It's an environment that looks like where most of the team all the time is very happy. And when you see that from afar as a fan, a coach is doing a really good job.
Now, you recruited Juwan, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, I mean, we're glad that you failed, but do you have any stories from that?
Well, my recruitment with Juwan was more as a friend. He allowed me to discuss with him the right way to do it. And, you couldn't have a person as far as character and integrity than Juwan Howard. When he got traded to Orlando, my wife and I were at a walk. Juwan moved into Windermere and Islesworth. My wife were out walking, and a car went by us. Then all of a sudden, it hit the brakes and comes back, and he jumps out and grabs me and hugs me. And my wife was scared. My wife was scared to death. Juwan and I, our paths crossed. It was a short period, but I think we were two people that felt that we acted in each other's best interest. And for all of these coaches, the job that they have to do is very hard. You guys know that with the work you do, what the coaches do are very hard because the opponents are worthy. And when you play worthy opponents, sometimes you don't always win. I know you guys are disappointed about the game with Michigan State, but
you don't. No. We've moved on. We're moved on. We're gonna beat those Hoosiers this weekend.
All right, I won't restart the pod.
All right, you coming up to Ann Arbor for the game? I mean, it's IU.
No, I'm not coming. Mike Woodson and I are roommates, classmates, co-captains, and I wish Woody nothing but the best. But it'll be sometime in January, February before with one or two of my sons and watch Woody coach. Again, the Indiana basketball job is an impossible job, and Mike, wish him all the best. I believe he has some good players, but you don't normally turn it around the Big Ten. Mike's never coached in high school or college, and we have to see if that ends up being an asset or a liability for him.
I mean, I look at the team he's built. We don't have a whole lot of time here left, but he's got Trace Jackson Davis down at center, and they put a lot of shooters around him that he found in the transfer portal, which to me, I look at that team and I go, that kind of scares me. That makes a lot of sense. Like, if there's going to be a team that's going to surprise in the Big Ten this year, I think it's going to be Indiana because they have a lot of parts that work well together, and I don't know if anybody's, even Michigan's defensive centers are pretty good, but Trace Jackson Davis down low with a lot of space around him, it's a little difficult to deal with.
Well, first of all, the shooters have to make shots, and Assembly Hall is not an easy place to make shots. It is probably the hardest place to make shots in the whole league. Except
what was your shooting percentage there?
Well, I'm the first guard to ever lead the Big Ten in shooting. You can go look this up. I'm the first guard to ever lead the Big Ten in field goal percentage. So if there's one thing I could do is I can shoot the basketball. My career field goal percentage in the NBA was over 50%. So it's a tough place to learn how to shoot. Trace Jackson, as good as he is, he's still left-handed, very left-handed. Mm-hmm. And the NBA guys question his motor in between the free throw lines. So those are the kind of things you have to look for if they've changed in Trace Jackson. Can he use his right hand? Does he always have to be on the right block facing the basket so they can come to his left hand? Sometimes you don't have to have a great defense. Offensive players guard themselves because they put a limitation analytically around themselves. So, and we can talk about the analytics around that later on, but
yeah,
it's really, it's like he's a left-hand player, and we have to wait and see if he's got a right turn signal on his car.
Yeah, that's Michigan's issue with Hunter Dickinson as well. So both those guys trying to find their weaker hand more usefully is going to be big for both those teams.
Always is.
Yeah, I think we are running out of time here, so it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I want to give a hello to Michigan grad and my lawyer, Terrence Reeves, that operates in Detroit. And I really want to thank him. My first time I was associated with Michigan was Phil Hubbard, and then I told the story about Gordon Bell from Troy, Ohio, where I grew up at, and Gordon coming to Michigan, and but Scott Perry, Alton Hardy, Phil Hubbard, all my friends, my Michigan friends. It's always been good. Thank you guys very much for having me.
Well, thank you, Butch.
Thank you for coming on.
Yep.
All right. That's so exhibition tonight. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
He never drank a single drop. He ate Ruska, vodka. There's poison, he swear to stop. He's singing la da 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 la 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 da da la da 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 la. Then one day Boris was visited by demons in his head, and they said, "Bring me Ruski vodka, or your son may soon be dead."